Hello and good morning friends, welcome to the CEC-UGC live lecture. Dear friends, in this session today we would be discussing on placement services and follow-up services. And for this discussion we have once again with us in our studios Dr. Parveen Sharma. Dr. Parveen Sharma is Associate Professor in Hindu College of Education, Sonipat. Dr. Sharma is a prolific professor who always believes in giving her best. Many of her articles have been published in reputed journals both at national and international level, as well as she has authored numerous books also. Many of her students are pursuing their PhD under her able guidance, and we believe that her experience would definitely help us out in understanding the topics, placement services and follow-up services. So without wasting any time, I would like to welcome our guest, Dr. Parveen Sharma. Dr. Sharma, welcome to the EduSet lecture.
Thank you, Geetika ji. Good morning, viewers and listeners. In this session today, we will discuss what is placement service, how it is framed, what is the need of establishing placement services in any institution, what are its purposes, how to organize placement service, and what are the benefits of this placement service. Well, let us proceed. Young people must be encouraged to have a knowledge towards wide varieties of occupation these days, as we are living in a world of competition these days. So it is essential that our youngsters should be well aware what are the wide range of occupational, and they must learn how to explore this occupational world. For this purpose, school can start a series of activities whereby helping the students to know what are the requirements these days and what kind of subjects they must study, what are the things in demand, that because it is essential on their part, they must study those subjects, those courses, those kind of training they should acquire which is in demand. So it is essential for the organizations, for the schools, for the colleges, for the other educational institutions to have a tie-up with the other organization where our youngsters, where our students have to move after completing the studies. So in this career planning, there are various aspects. First is the students must have a knowledge of wide range of occupations, and second step is the students, when they move after the studies in the real world, when they go for workout, they must know whether the subject or the course which has been chosen by them is in harmony with their self-concept. I mean, whether they have the abilities and potentialities for that occupation. So it is important. And third, the school authorities can help the children to have access to these kind of training. So let us see what do we actually mean by this. See, in this pic, we take care of your career. This is a very important pic to realize for the individual that placement cell is important. Young people must be encouraged to focus their attention on the wide range of job available today and to explore the occupational world. The school can design a series of activities to present students occupational information and to familiarize them with the range and variety of occupation which they can choose for themselves. As I have discussed the 3 steps, last is that it involves applying and securing employment in that occupation. You know, when any individual has to plan its career, there are various steps which are involved. First is the knowledge of the occupation. Second is the self-concept of the individual, whether that self-concept and abilities and potentialities are in harmony with the subject or the career. And the third is the specific educational training or course from where this kind of training has to be acquired by the individual. And lastly, it involves applying and securing employment in that occupation occupation, because in previous series of the lectures I have discussed with you that students are perplexed and lost from where we have to get from where we have to apply and which job will be suited for me, whether I have the capability of entering into that field or not. And occupational information can be used to make vocational aspirations realistic. To perform these functions adequately, school should run a placement service for those students who shall be going out of the school after completing their studies. For this purpose, school should maintain contact with the employment agencies. As we plan to say that school or the college or the educational institution should establish a placement cell to provide the placement services to the youngsters. For this, the personnel who is engaged in placement service, who is organizing such kind of service in the institution, must have a tie-up, must have a coordination with the other organizations, with the industries, so that they can have the knowledge, and then they must be aware what kind of students they demand, what kind of the employees they demand. So, it will be helpful for that personnel to produce that kind of individuals in the institutions. Let us define how the other psychologists have defined placement services according to a comprehensive dictionary of psychological and psychoanalytical terms. The term placement means the assigning of a worker to the job for which he is judged best fitted. But here it must be fully understood that fitness includes the individual's satisfaction with the job as well his abilities for the job. See, according to this definition, it is important to understand for everyone that the individual must be fitted for that particular occupation, because sometimes the false interest of the individual are framed for that kind of occupation. The interest is framed in the interest is created in the individual, but individual is not having that kind of potential or abilities. If the individual, without counseling and without the guidance of the personnel in the placement cell, joins that kind of occupation, may not be fitted because he was or she was not aware about the potentials. Then, according to Andrew and Willie, placement refers to all of the activities performed in assisting the student to make an adequate adjustment to new step in his training, whether that is taking a part-time job or making a choice of additional educational training. Through the placement services, one can join part-time job or the full-time job, because some of the students may be of the background who cannot afford the studies, maybe due to financially or other reasons. So, placement services help such kind of students to join part-time services. This way they can continue their studies also. Then, according to Downing, placement is a service with guidance program designed to assist students in the selection of suitable courses or curricula, extra class activities and part-time or full-time employment. So, this is how the various psychologists have defined the meaning of the placement service. So, it is very important these days that the students must be given the placement help or placement services, because after the awareness of so many range of subjects, it is very important for the individuals, for the youngsters, for the students to realize whether they have the ability for that particular job or not, because various things are involved in it. Whether the students have a liking for that particular subject, then from where such kind of training should be acquired, and moreover it is also very important to help the individuals that they must be taken into that work area, so that they can realize, they can be aware that the nature of the job after studying this course, after completing this course will be like this, because they must be aware about the work area, what kind of work they have to perform, because they must be given the knowledge. And moreover, one thing very important, the students must be given training, must be made aware that for this particular area you need how much time, how many years, so that they may not frustrate, oh how much time I will take to complete this course. And when because if you join some competitive exams, it is maybe a long time discipline. So student must be given training that if you join this kind of profession, you will require so many years, and you will have to study more than 15 years for 15 hours or 16 hours, for example. So they must be aware that I have to devote so many time towards this training, towards this course. And thus in the placement service, two things are involved. First is the fitness for the job, and second is the satisfaction of the individual with the job, because when after getting the guidance and counseling, when the individual is being given training by the personnel that you must choose the study as course of study or the career option for which you are fit, and second, satisfaction of the individual. If any individual does not join a course which is not fit to that particular person, then what is the result? Definitely the individual will not be satisfied, the individual will not be happy. And if any individual who is working wherever in any area is not happy with the job, not having the satisfaction, then we cannot expect from such a person that can create something useful or beneficial for himself, herself, or for the society, for the community, or for the nation as a whole. So it is very important that youngsters or our students must be guided by the personnel who are involved in the in the placement service, that they must be guided that what kind of job you should join, and you are fit for that job or you are not fit for that. Then further, what are the aims of placement service? So it is very important to know that what are the aims of placement service. First is the betterment of the individual and welfare of the individual as well as the society, because when after getting the knowledge through the placement services, after the help of the personnel, individual will be able to know that this kind of subject or this kind of career will be suited for me, then he will be definitely able to make adjustment and to produce something creative for the individual and for the society as well. So it is important that the individual must know that what I have to study, what I have to do, whether I am doing something creative for the society or not. So placement service in a manner help the individual how to produce something or something creative for the individual or for the society as well. See in this pic, training and placement. In this pic, this is very much clear. When training is given to the individual, then after getting the training, the individual is reaching to the height, reaching to the goals, reaching to the destination step by step. So this pic is enough to make anyone aware that after training, placement is really good or where one must reach. Then what are the types of placement? There are two types of placement, educational placement and job placement, meaning by on first step the individual must be guided that what are the subjects suited for me, whether I can devote 15 hours, 16 hours or so many time to study that particular subject and then the job placement. Here I would like to say, when we guide the youngsters that you must study this subject, we must take youngsters, we must take the students to the workplace. Suppose we guide someone that you must join banking services. So, before selecting the subject, we must take the individual to the bank, and that kind of working should be observed by that individual. So, the individual himself or herself will be able to realize, do I have such kind of interest to work in this area? So, this is just an example that when there is the diversification in selecting the subjects, individual must be taken to the workplace. In the classroom also, suppose we have to tell the utility of the banking services, instead of theoretically telling the banking system, we must take the youngsters, we must take the students to the bank, so that they can observe the working of the bank. And sometime by coming the noticing, after noticing the working of the bank, we can ask our students for role playing. Let us create a scene of bank, full scene, somebody will be acting as a manager, someone as a client, and all the roles will be assigned maybe by the teacher. And sometime we ask the students, you have noticed the working of the bank and you must play the role, you must decide the role. So, I mean to say, two types of placement are there, first in deciding the subjects, and then second is the deciding the job placement. Further, see in this pic how the training is being given in the class, that these are the subjects and how the training is given, and it has been proved by the various psychologists that when after giving the proper training by the personnel, then the success or the satisfaction or the happiness or the creativity or the productivity or the output by such kind of students is much more than the students who were not given the training. So, what are the functions of placement service? First is that to know the reasons of dropout. In placement services, we can have a survey of the students who just drop out, who just could not continue the study and could not join some service which were according to their interest. So, in placement service, a personnel who is having the in chargeship or the convenership of that placement service in the institution can try to know the reasons of the dropouts, why they could not continue with the same subjects, with the same course of action, and with the job which they wanted to join, and providing help in selecting courses. So, when after just knowing about the students' abilities and the potentials and the concepts, the personnel can guide them that these are the subjects you must study. Sometimes students who are not aware about their self-concept, about their taste, may sometimes select the wrong subjects. So, here the personnel must be helpful to such kind of students and giving help in occupational information. And sometimes students study the subject, complete the course, but they are not aware now in this occupational family what are the lines where I can apply and from where I can get the form, how to fill the form. So, such kind of occupational information are not with the students, they are lacking in this area. I personally have noticed the students that after passing the graduation or post graduation, sometimes students are not aware from where I have to collect this kind of form or this kind of information and how to fill. So, such kind of training should be given at earlier level by the teachers, by the personnel. Then providing help in part-time employment. Sometimes students with the help of this placement service can join some job, but that is part-time, and other in full-time employment. So, when a personnel who is engaged in such kind of placement service must have a tie-up with coordination with the other agencies who are just giving the employment to the students, to the youngsters, to the individuals. So, that kind of coordination must be there between the personnel who is just organizing the placement services and the other agencies or the authorities or the employers, so that the person who is engaged here in the placement service can send the students who are fitted for that particular job. Then see in this pic how the personnel in the placement services helping the individuals that you must study this and how you can reach the top of the ladder. So, this is very helpful when a personnel who is engaged in placement service is helping the individuals. Then let us discuss what are the principles of this placement services, how an individual who is engaged here can organize this placement services. First, the pattern of organization should be in harmony with existing school organization. Sometime the atmosphere or the subjects which a student is studying is altogether different, where we want to reach or we have to reach. So, if there is such kind of gap, what are the subjects we are studying and what kind of atmosphere is prevailing in that institution and we want to reach, then there comes a gap which is not desirable. Then functions of organization should be predetermined when such kind of placement services is being organized in any institution. So, all the work should be decided, because when a personnel is running the placement services, any individual cannot do all the work. Definitely that personnel will be deputing the other workers with him or with her. So, that kind of work or that kind of task should be predetermined, that this individual, this worker has to do this and that worker has to do that. Objectives and policies should be in harmony with purpose. Sometimes it has been noticed that we have different purpose, but the objectives or the policies which we frame as a organizer of placement service do not match, they are not in harmony. So, that will not serve our purpose. So, the objectives and the policies should match with our purpose. An advisory committee should be formed where we are running the placement services. An advisory committee should be formed because we can seek the opinion of 3 or persons, because when many minds think on any issue, different ideas or more productive ideas come forward. So, it will be helpful for the person who is running the placement service if committee is framed. Duty of placement worker should be clearly defined. Sometime there comes the confusion within the workers that who has to perform this task. So, that kind of situation should not arise. So, it all depends on the head who is running the placement services, that all the tasks should be divided in a very well manner in all the workers, and that should be also a genuine one. Now, organizing the educational placement, how we can organize the placement, educational placement. First here we have to make tie up with the students whom we have to send to the organizations. For this, the organizer or the personnel who is running the placement service must have a tie up with the principal and with the teachers, so that easily that personnel can have free interaction with the students, because it is very essential for that personnel to have free access to the students, because in that case he or she who is running the personal placement services can know what are the needs of the students, what are the demands, what are the desires or aspirations of the students. Sometime if those aspirations are there and students are not working in that direction, then the personnel can help, can guide the students that if you want to reach this destination, you have to do this. So that kind of educational placement can be organized by this personnel when there is close relationship with the students and good rapport with the principal or the other authorities or the other teachers in the organization, and moreover the other agencies where we have to send our students. Then responsibility of the school. What is the responsibility of the school? The personnel who is running the placement service cannot do all alone everything. Here the school has to play its important role. How? The principal must be very cooperative, must not force all the time the teachers to complete the course theoretically, because if theoretically students have completed their course and they are not aware about the demands in the society, what subject they have to study, what kind of procedure they have to follow, then there will be a gap in the theoretical or practical aspects. So the principal or the teacher should be cooperative. So this is the responsibility of the school. Then responsibility of the community. When the personnel organize the placement service, must depute some of the reputed or prestigious person from the community, because when we frame advisory committee in the organization, along with the principals and teachers and the academicians, we must include some of the reputed person from the community, because through that person we can come to know that what are the requirements in the community, so that there can be established a good rapport and good tie-up. Then phases of placement service. Placement services have different phases. First, general character of occupational life. First, we have to make the students what are the general character of occupation. Then occupational field of interest. Then what is the interest of the students, whether that kind of interest is in harmony. Then personal interest and aptitude, whether the interest of the student is matching with the aptitude of the students. Then actual choice of an occupation, whether the student has chosen the right occupation or not, and beginning of work in the job, and to see how the students, how the individual is facing, what kind of feelings the individual is having after joining the job. So that kind of tie-up must be there in the organization. Students, the old students who have joined the job through the help of the placement services, must have a tie-up with the principal, with the teachers and with the personnel, so that there can be a follow-up of the job, whether the students have some difficulty in making adjustment or in performing the task. So that can be a very helpful procedure when there is a tie-up. So this is the nature of the permanent placement services. So I hope it is enough to know for everyone to be aware that the placement services is really very important, and we have to see that it should be established in a beneficial manner, so that it can be useful for the students individually and for the society as a whole. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, viewers and listeners. In this session, we will discuss follow-up surveys. After the placement surveys, it is important to know the follow-up activities of the individual. When we have guided the students, we have given the counseling to the students that this job or this subject will be fitted for you, will be suited for you. Through the placement surveys, we try to send the suitable persons to the suitable job. Now, after that, after sending the students to the work area, it is very essential for the authorities or for the personnel or for the teachers or for the stakeholders to know whether the individual who has been sent to the work area is performing well, is happily adjusted there, or is having the job satisfaction or not. So, this all is done through the follow-up services. Let us define how the follow-up services can be understood. First, according to Downing, the follow-up service is a basic element of the guidance program designed to provide information needed to assist youngsters in making better adjustment to school, to a vocational training program or a job. Meaning by when we have sent any individual to work area, so it is very important to see whether that individual is performing well or not. If he or she is not performing well, what are the drawbacks? Whether there is some lacuna in training, or is it the case that the individual who has been sent to the particular area is not fitted for the job, whether there was some lacuna or drawback in the choice of the subjects or choice of a career. So, in follow-up service, we try to keep contact with the students who have been sent. So, a personnel should make it sure that after joining the services, after the placement of the students, they must report, they must have tie up with that personnel in the schools or in the colleges or in the other organizations from where they have been sent, because they can seek some kind of guidance or some kind of help from the personnel or from the teachers. So, it is very essential for the students and for the teachers to understand that there must be a establish and remain a good rapport between the personnel, between the students, between the teachers and the authorities, so that when students after joining the job, they come back to the organization, to the schools or to the colleges and tell the authorities that these are the cases, I am happily set there, or I am having such kind of problem. So, this is all what we come to know through the follow-up services. Further, what is the more importance of follow-up service? To know whether the individual is taking initiative. It is important to see whether the individual after completing the course of study, after getting the job, has become lethargic or taking the initiative. If the individual is not taking initiative in performing the task, then further training is required. When further suppose there is a meeting in the school or college after twice a year or monthly or whenever whatever the time is set for from the institution, then such kind of things can be discussed between the personnel and the students to know whether the individual is working hard or not. Whether one has become again the lethargic, is not working hard, then the training is useless. So, it means the personnel has to further improve the training itself, and to give more morale, more motivation is needed for the individual who has joined the job to find out his or her honesty. It is because it was given or it was told in the during the training time that one has to be honest towards the job, towards your task which you have taken, which you have chosen. So, if you are not honest, honesty not in the terms of money only. So, whatever task we have been assigned, if we are not performing sincerely, it means we are not honest to our duty. So, that kind of thing is to be taken in the follow-up services, whether the individual loves his or her job. It is very important to love your job. If you do not have a passion for your job, you cannot remain remain happy, and if there is not such kind of satisfaction with the job, then such kind of individual cannot produce something creative for the individual himself or herself, or for the society as a whole, to discover the individual qualities. And in the follow up service, we as a personnel, we as a teacher have to see what are the lacuna and what were the qualities which were hidden in that individual, which could not draw out. So, that kind of qualities have to be draw out from the individual. So, these are the very important functions of follow up service. Again I am repeating, after sending any individual to some work area, it is very important to have coordination with that individual, whether the individual which were given training through the placement service is happily set there or not, is able to make adjustment with the co-workers or not, because it is also important wherever we are working, we have to create sort of social harmony with our group, because if we are not living or we are not working in harmony, then the environment will not be congenial. Anywhere we are working, we have to make efforts to create congenial environment for our progress and for the progress of everyone. So, it is important to know whether the individual is working honestly, sincerely, taking initiative or not. So, this all can be discussed in the follow up session, when the individuals who have joined the service and come in the meeting, in alumni meeting, or whenever the time is fixed by the institution, can be discussed. Then to see one thing more, to see whether the worker the student which we have sent in the any work area, in any industry or in any institution, is in discipline or not, because if we come to know as a personnel that the individual is creating mischief there, then again some kind of counseling in follow up session can be given to know employer's impression. And it is important that sometime in our old students meeting, we invite the employers from different organization where we have sent our students, or our students are working, and in a lecture or in a discussion we can come to know the impressions of the employers about our students which are working there. Again in the next session, that impression, those views by the employers can be discussed to improve the personality of those youngsters, because these days competency is not enough. Your attitude towards the task is important, because whosoever will apply will be competent, will be having the qualification, will be having the certificate or degree for that particular job. But the employers, they want the persons with the right or the social correct attitudes. So, this is very important to inculcate in our students when the training is given by the placement services, that you have to develop the correct attitudes for the services. Then what is the need of follow up service? Determining adjustment needs. As I have said, that it is very important for the individual to make adjustment. So, when we meet with the old students in follow up service, we can come to know whether you have adjustment or not. So, we can determine the adjustment need, the need in connection with second or later placement. Sometime for more promotional aspects, the individual joins or changes or shifts the second or then the third job. So, those reasons or those beneficial points, those aspects can be discussed by the students. And moreover, when we have to send the students, a file should be maintained by the personnel, in which all the entries by the employers or the demand by the employers should be noted down, and need for help in removing the cause of dissatisfaction. When in the follow up session, your students who have been placed in some work area, they come and they say we are not happy, that kind of dissatisfaction, those kind of reasons can be discussed, and that that kind of dissatisfaction can be removed by the personnel by giving them more counseling in personally or in group. The need in case of prolonged unemployment. Sometime in our placement services or in follow-up services, we see that some of the students after the training get the job very easily, very quickly, and some of the students, they do not get job. So, what is the reason of that prolonged unemployment in case of those students? Maybe the lacking of the right attitude, which has been mentioned by me just now, that they don't have the right attitude, and sometimes they talk in arrogance, they don't have the interviewing skill, they do not know, they are good at heart, but they do not know what are the words I have to use at work area, or they do not have the proper communication skill. They are competent theoretically, they know the things, they know the content, but they are lacking in their communication skill. So, those kind of communication skill can be improved in case of those students, those individuals who are the case of prolonged unemployment, they are not getting the job. Need for additional vocational preparation. Such kind of individuals need more vocational preparation, because theoretically they have passed out the exam, they are getting good marks, but from the point of the vocation, they are not fit. Maybe they don't have the right attitude, they don't have the communication skill, or many more other reasons which can be discussed through the personnel in the personal meetings or in the group, and this will be helpful when they come to the personnel or the teachers in the institutions and discuss why they are not getting job, what happened when they appeared in the interview, and this follow-up session, some interview techniques and how to appear in the interview can be discussed by the authority, by the teacher, which can be helpful for the youngsters when they go for the job. Then what are the purposes of follow-up service? Why do we organize? So, I hope this has been clear in the need. Again, I want to make it more clear to my listeners that what are the purposes of the follow-up session, why we should have organized the follow-up services to help the individual in bringing about educational, vocational and personal adjustment of the individual. Because when we see that after getting so much good marks or the degree, or they are not getting the job, what is the lacuna? So, that kind of educational, vocational and personal training can be further given in the follow-up services to keep in touch with the students and collect useful information. For personnel, it is important that have a tie up with the students who got the job and who did not get the job. Who got the job, what were their plus points, and who could not get the job, where they were lacking, what was asked, where they were feeling their self as a failure. So, what were the lacuna? All those content, all those information will be helpful for those individuals and for the personnel to give them more training to discover the reasons of dropouts. And after getting the information from the students, the personnel can come to know what are the reason why they have been drop out, and this kind of occupational information can be can be acquired through so many sources like newspaper, like mass media, and the views of the experts or the other occupational literature. Then to find out the available opportunities, we have to see in the follow-up services what are the available opportunities where our students, after studying this subject, after getting the training in this field, they can get the job. To know the opinion of the old students, it is very important that sometime the lectures of the old students should be organized in the institution. I have seen that we just invite the experts from the higher cadre, but sometimes it is also important we invite the old students so that they can help the students who are studying, that they must prepare themselves in this type, and this point will be helpful for you. So, old student can share their ideas with the students who are now studying. So, when the present students meet with the old students, it will be beneficial in the follow-up services. Then to provide occupational statistics which is helpful in the adjustment and stability of the students. When students discuss with the other students, it will be very helpful from that statistics, from that number of students, that how many students were placed and how many students could not been placed, where they were lacking. So, this kind of data will be helpful for the students to determine the occupational interest of the students. General interest is different, but students must know that what are the occupational interests lying within them and how a personnel can help in knowing the students their occupational interest and to give assistance to former students. Further, for further progress, the old students which got the job further wants promotion, they can come to the personnel in the follow-up services and can seek the help from the authority, from the personnel, how I can enhance my biodata. And see, when students come to the personnel, and after that if they just acquire further degree or some training, they must come to the institution, and they where they were being registered, they just give information that this information should be added in my CV because I have gained this knowledge, I have acquired this much more degree. So, it will be helpful for them. Then organization of follow-up services. While organizing the follow-up service, school authorities as well as guidance workers and counselors should study the problems of former students. The problems not of the present students, but the former students who have joined through the placement services but are facing some problems, maybe attitudinal problems from the employers, or maybe there is a gap which we are studying during the course of our that degree, and what is the demand in the work area. So, when such kind of information is being given by the employers or by the former students, we can change our curricula. Our curriculum must be reframed that we are teaching such kind of subjects, such kind of content, but the requirement in the work area is somewhat different. So, that information by our former students or by the employers can be helpful in framing the subject or the curricula. Then we can without hesitation bring some changes in our curricula, our syllabi. Then in the light of this, study follow-up programs can be organized in such a way that the needed modifications are brought about in guidance and counseling program. We must be always ready for change. Nothing is static. We should be dynamic, because if some information or some guidance is given by anyone, maybe our former students, maybe our employers, maybe some prestigious person from the community, we should be ready to change our ourselves and bring modification in our guidance and counseling, because whatever we are doing, whatever we are guiding, all is in the benefit or for the welfare of the students and for the nation as a whole. Then planning an initiative. While planning for the follow-up service, we have to see that how to plan, because in that area we can maintain, as a personnel we can maintain a file where all the students which have been placed through the placement services are registered there. Whosoever is being sent must be invited in our alumni or other social functions which are organized in the institution, so that the planning should be done with the help of the former students, and what kind of problems they are having in making adjustment. Information about occupational and educational training can be acquired by those students, and information about the problem of evaluation we can evaluate with the help of the students whether you are fit there or you need some more training. So, that kind of information from the former students can be helpful for the present students, and we can utilize that information. So, with the help of those students, we can improve our follow up service, and we can be helpful to the students whom we have to place in the other area. So, that kind of information from our former students can be helpful in the planning session. Then comes the initiation, how to initiate follow up service. Of course, we have planned that this way we have to move. So, in initiative session, first we have to see that each and every notice which we get from the employers where our students are working, we should maintain that file. Each and every notice can be helpful that your student, your candidate is performing well in that area and not performing in that area. So, that kind of notices should be tie up in the file. Then survey of dropouts. We can make a survey in the initiation session that who are dropping out, who are not doing well, what is the reason in their dropping out. So, we can further improve our training, and survey of those who leave school after complete studies. Some students in between leave the study due to some reasons. So, in follow up services we can see what were the reasons they could not complete the study, whether the choice of subject was wrong, what is the reason, there may be many more reasons, and survey of those students who leave after completing the studies, where they reached, where they are working, are they performing well. So, techniques of follow up service are various. First is the questionnaire. When I have spoken to you that when we can invite our former students, so sometime number is so large that we cannot interact with each and every students. So, for that purpose we can frame a questionnaire to have knowledge about our old students who are working in different area. Some are working in the educational institutions, some have become doctor, and some are in the industry, and some have become the IAS officers, and some have gone in the judiciary area. So, we can make a questionnaire, but we have to be very careful when we make such questionnaire. The language of those questionnaires, those questions should be concise and brief, and very personal questions should not be asked. Sometime if we ask such type of questions which are very personal, they may feel embarrassed and they may not like to answer, and when the questions are very lengthy, they are very long, then it may be possible that all these our individuals may not ready to respond. So, questionnaire should be designed in such a manner that response should be get. Then checklist. The another technique of getting the information is the checklist. Here the individuals have just to tick yes or not, you are happy, or yes or no, you are taking initiative, yes or no. This way we can make a checklist. And the third is the interview. Some of the students who reach at the top of the ladder, we can invite them and we can take their interview, and with the help of those interviews our present students can be helpful that we have to prepare ourselves in this way or that way. Then the last is the correspondence. Sometime our students which were placed through the placement services are at a distance. To correspond with them, we can write a letter or we can chat with them through email. So, very quick information can reach to us, can reach to them who are placed at far. So, these days distance are no more. So, we can have the knowledge of the students whether they are happily set there or not through the questionnaire, through checklist, through interviews, and through correspondence, maybe through letter, maybe through email, or whatever technique we like to use. So, these are the techniques of follow up service. So, workshop program is really helpful when we organize placement services, when we organize follow-up services, it is really helpful for our individuals and for our society as well. Some of the books I have mentioned which are helpful for the students. So, I hope all the listeners must be benefited from this views of follow-up services, and this is really good when we have follow-up service for the individual and the society as well.
With this note, thank you ma'am, thank you so very much for giving us a very productive session, and today we have understood a lot on the placement services and the follow-up service. When we are talking about the follow-up service, then at what frequency or at how much interval we should contact the student and follow up?
Generally, in most of the institution, it is yearly. When we have alumni, old students meet, generally it is once a year. So, it depends on the institution. I hope it should be after 3 months.
It should be after 3 months. And what should be the purpose of serving to the students, because every time we meet, should we serve them something new, or should we continue talking on the previous things which are underlying?
No, we can seek information from the students, something what is new in the demand, so that it can be beneficial to our present students. We can learn from them also.
Definitely. Ma'am, could if we are arranging for the sessions, meetup sessions, could we arrange a discussion for the students so that they could interact among themselves?
Very well, because it will not be boring, rather it will be interesting when we have discussions, some present students, some old students, some experts, some counselors and personnel.
Can a student attach to more than one organization? Is it beneficial for the student or for the individual?
It can be in a way, because from various sources we can collect more informations.
Definitely. And what student can do? Can he or she give her feedback to the agencies or the institution at what level they are benefiting from the services?
Yes, the feedback from the students is really good. As I have said, that it can be from the checklist or from the correspondence, from the email, because that kind of feedback is always helpful for the old students and for the new students as well.
Now the question is for every student who wants to have a better career and better opportunities, sometimes it is easier to afford and to get attached to the institution or the organization, but many times it is very difficult. So, are there any agencies or the placement services where one can attach without affording too much?
Without affording too much, sometimes students can get their name registered in the naukri.com or the other agencies, but I will suggest the students must have tie up with the old institutions from where they have passed out in any way, maybe through letter simply. If you are not access to the email, you can simply be in touch with writing a letter to the old teachers.
Some students lack presentation skills. Some students grow up while doing the job, or some work out for enhancing the personalities. So, apart from the placement services, are there any services which provide such type of programs also which help students to enhance their personality?
Yet there are various courses, especially in the communication skills, and these days rather in our university these communication skills courses have been attached with the same curricula.
With this note, thank you ma'am, thank you so very much for giving us a very productive session once again, and dear friends, we would be meeting again very soon and would be discussing on another topic. Till then, take care, goodbye. Thank you ma'am,
Thank you Geetika ji, thank you.